Pittsburgh Steelers fans, we are back for the Stat Geek Q&A. Coming at you once again is Deputy Dave, as Jeff Hartman likes to call me. And maybe I should say Jefferson Hartman likes to call me. I am the deputy editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, and joining me, as always, my big brother, Rich. Doing good, Rich? Still good?
Yeah,
Still there? Still got you?
Yep, having fun. Talking a little Steelers.
Yeah. It was, for those of you that, if you didn't catch our first show that just finished a little while ago, the regular Stat Geek, we had a special guest. We had Kevin Smith back again, also known as Cliff Harris is Still a Punk on BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, where he is an author there. And he was talking to us about his experiences where he's gotten to know Eric Ebron. So we were talking about Eric Ebron and what he could bring to the Steelers. If you didn't get to catch that show, it's there on YouTube. You can go catch the replay, and if you're listening to this on podcast form, it's already out there. So now we're back. I really appreciate Kevin jumping in with us because he's dealing with getting his son home from Africa. He gave us a little bit of an update on that. He was doing a semester abroad that then got called home, and it's been a long process for him to get home. Luckily, he said he left Dubai and landed in Boston, and then was leaving Boston to come to New York or I don't know. Did he say Newark or JFK? I can't remember. I think he said JFK. But his luggage was still in Dubai. Yeah. His luggage was still in Dubai. But that was a good update from Kevin and some great stuff. So we're going to let you guys go back and check that out if you haven't already been able to. Because Rich and I, we're getting ready to talk some other stuff.
Yep.
We're going to talk about the Steelers roster. I did an article today for the website. I mentioned it in the last show of what would the Steelers starting lineup look like today? What would it look like in week one based on the rosters they have, or the roster they have right now? There was only a couple question marks. There really was. We're going to kind of highlight this, and then we're going to dive into it. The only question marks I really had on offense was, some people wanted to debate who's the starter between McDonald or Ebron, but like I said, it depends on the situation. If they're in a run-heavy package, it's probably going to be McDonald. If they're in a pass-heavy package, it's probably going to be Ebron. And who starts doesn't really matter there because they're both going to play, and they both could start in a two tight end set. The biggest question comes at left guard. What do you think about left guard for next year, Rich?
Hold on. I gotta work. Left guard.
Yeah, I was going to say we got to.
Hold on. I gotta work my way down the line. Al.
We just all of a sudden got really loud and then backed off there. So I can let you know what I put in the article.
Okay, put it. Yeah, because I didn't get to read your article today. Sorry,
I went ahead. I penciled in Stefan Wisniewski at left guard.
Well, you can. You don't have to, but
because the question was he brought in for depth or was he brought in where he could start? And the answer is yes. He was brought in for depth with the opportunity to start. To me, the only other starter on the roster right now that could be at left guard would be Matt Filer. If one of the other tackles balled out so well that they wanted to play either Zach Banner or Chukwuekorfor for at right tackle, where Matt Filer was then better at left guard. Because, like I said, last year, I think Filer was the best lineman, and he's probably better at guard than he is at tackle. That doesn't mean that you have to play him at guard just because he's better there. If the strongest part of your line is going to be putting Wisniewski at guard. Wisniewski, if you want to look at Pro Football Focus rankings, he ranked 16th, one spot behind David DeCastro last season. No, he didn't play the whole season. He only started a couple games, but he started the last week of the season into the playoffs. I can't even remember the name of the player that he took over for. Maybe someone in the live chat does. But that player got healthy for the Super Bowl, but they didn't change. They stayed with Wisniewski because he was playing well. So I'm a fan of keeping Filer tackle and thinking that Wisniewski's going to step into that role as the veteran. Doesn't have to be that way, but that's the way I'd like to see it play out right now. A lot of people are agreeing that.
Options.
Yes, we have options.
Like options.
And it's not bad options. It's good options. Like I said in the article, if there's any change to it, it's going to be because of exceptional play, not because of subpar play in most cases. That's what you want to see. You want to see someone else taking over a job because they're playing better, not because somebody else is playing worse. So that's really the only question mark I had on the offense.
Yeah.
And then when it came to the defense, if you're looking at 12, including slot corner, 11 of them are basically the same from last year. The only question is nose tackle.
Yep.
What are they going to do with nose tackle? And what I said, I'd like to see them try to utilize Tyson Alualu to get him on the field more because he played great last year. I don't know how well he could do down inside, but why not? Why not see? Why not see? Why not attempt to get your best 3 defensive linemen on the field at the same time if you have to have 3 of them out there? Now I know Wormley might be able to do that, but honestly, I think Alualu has just as much chance to be able to move down there as Wormley does because of size and everything else. Every time you need a nose tackle, if it's going to be Big Dan McCullers running onto the field, teams are going to try to specifically put you in that package to take advantage of them. So that's why that's not what I really wanted to see there. Yeah. What are your thoughts about nose tackle with what they have right now?
Well, I don't know. I could always go with Wes, and he says, do we draft a nose tackle somewhere?
No, that's cheating. That's cheating. You have to go with who they have now. That was the whole premise of the article.
Okay, if I have to go with who they have now, I like the idea of Alualu.
Okay,
I like getting him on the field more.
Yeah, but I also like what Wes said. That is true that they could. Now, I did a mock draft. I do mock draft Monday every week. Did not like the mock draft that I did this past week. I got people roasted me for even publishing it. I'm like, all right, the Steelers had made free agent moves, so I wanted an up-to-date mock draft, and I wanted it from a credible source. Do you know how many mock drafts I found from reliable sources that actually had 2 rounds and that had been done since last Friday?
None.
I found 3.
Oh,
I found 3.
Okay.
And 2 of those 3 had the Steelers drafting a player that we'd already used mock draft Monday on. I only had one option. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to run it. It was a guy that I think the Steelers could maybe draft in the 4th round. But it was a defensive lineman, a guy that could play down in there. So I don't know. If they're going to – I don't think drafting a nose tackle high would be a very wise idea.
I don't think
I don't think that's where those guys go. So if we're going to talk about draft, let's talk about holes. We know the Steelers prefer, even with their first-round picks, ever since they penciled in Ryan Shazier as a starter, they say they regretted doing that. It'd be much better to not count on someone coming in to start from the draft, but whether if they earn the job to beat out somebody else, then that's where they come in. So we kind of have an idea who our starters are. What holes do you think the Steelers still need to fill right now? Do I got you?
No, you got me. I'm just pausing. It's like, still fill holes. I don't know. I like what we've done in free agency. We've done in free agency what I've talked about on here for 2 weeks, which was we went out, we got some decent veteran guys without breaking the bank. We filled up the gaps. We don't have what I see as a lot of holes right now. I'm not saying we don't have places where we could draft and get better, but we wouldn't have to.
Exactly.
Like we could go draft another offensive lineman and try to get another tackle, right? Do we have to have a tackle?
No.
I don't think we have a hole at tackle, do we?
No.
We might be looking for a left tackle to eventually take over for Big Al, but we don't have to go get that.
Exactly. So I do think that there are some holes on this roster, but it's not in the starting positions. It's more in the depth pieces. Without Mark Barron, the only inside linebackers you have for depth right now are I almost messed up the way Jeff does all the time. Ulysses Gilbert, the third,
Mm-hmm.
and Robert Spillane,
Right.
who strictly those guys played on special teams last year. It was Gilbert, and then when he got put on IR, then Spillane was up and he filled in on special teams. They didn't see the field on defense. So you've kind of got an unknown behind Bush and Williams. And do you want Williams taking 100% of the snaps on defense? Or do you want another inside linebacker that's going to be taking some of these snaps? You know what I mean?
Right.
Even if it's someone that's almost kind of like your hybrid linebacker safety, do the Steelers really have anything with that right now? Whether it's through the draft or through anything else. I mean, they have Marcus Allen, who they thought maybe could have been that when they drafted him 2 years ago, but you haven't. I mean, he wasn't even on the Steelers roster until the last 2 weeks of the season last year.
Right.
So safety depth is another place that I think could be a hole. Right now the Steelers have the exact same 4 safeties that they finished the year with last year, with the starters of Fitzpatrick and Edmonds, and then the backup of Jordan Dangerfield. And they, like I said, they promoted from the practice squad at the end of the season, Marcus Allen. That's who they have there. I could see that role being filled in a little bit more. I think there's some question marks at outside linebacker after you get to beyond Dupree and Watt. Do we really know what we have in Ola and Skipper that we feel super comfortable that they're a guy that's going to come in and eat up a lot of snaps if one of those other guys gets dinged up, or they're going to enter into that rotation? I could see with some depth there. But what's crazy is some of the positions that people keep screaming about the Steelers need to take in the second round are 2 positions that I'm not going to name. And that is, I don't think the Steelers have a hole at running back.
Nope.
I don't think the Steelers have a hole at wide receiver, because I actually like Deion Kane as a number 4. So I don't think they have a hole in those things. I think that is one of those positions that would fall under the whole upgrade mentality.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's not that there's a hole. If you don't draft anybody at those positions, you're not going to be, oh my goodness, they're so much in trouble. I mean, to me, that's what happened to the Steelers 2 years ago with inside linebacker. They didn't address it. They lost Ryan Shazier. They didn't address it through free agency, and the draft didn't fall correctly for them to address it in the draft. And they basically went into the season not knowing what they were doing at the position. I mean, they had John Bostic. They're asking Vince Williams to basically play the other linebacker spot of what he's supposed to be playing. And it wasn't good for Williams, and it wasn't good for the Steelers. So we need some depth, and we could look at some upgrades. Any of your thoughts on all the stuff that I brought up there?
Well, my thoughts are going to be this: is what we have done then with our free agent signings. We have given ourselves draft flexibility. We don't get to the second round and say, oh my gosh, we have to take this guy because we have to fill this hole. We can go in and
Artie
say,
Burns.
right. We can go in and say, hey, oh my gosh, we can't believe this left tackle fell this far. We need to get this guy. Or
this
we can't believe this wide
this edge
receiver fell
rusher.
this far.
Yeah.
We can't believe this inside linebacker is still sitting out there. You know, we're going to get to go into the draft doing what I think the Steelers do best, have some of their best drafts. It's when they're not having to fill those gaps. They're able to say, wow, this is the best guy out there right now. We can't believe we can get this guy, and we get him.
Like they did with Juju.
Like they did
when
with
they
Juju.
got him in the second round.
You really want to
People
think
were screaming for the Steelers. They needed a cornerback. But
really want to think
instead,
about it,
they couldn't believe Juju was there, so they took him.
We did the same thing, and if you really stop and think about it, we did the same thing when we drafted Ben Roethlisberger. We couldn't believe he was still sitting there at 13. You know?
Yeah. When you're, you.
I mean, were you expected the year we drafted?
I wanted the Steelers to trade up and get him. I really did. I've told that story before. But what I couldn't believe is that they still got him and didn't even have to move.
But the Steelers, you knew, were going into that season. They were just fine having Tommy Maddox as their quarterback. But when they got to 13, it's like, we can't pass on this guy. You
Yeah.
know, I want us to have
I'm-
more of those moments, like when we got Ben, like when we got Juju. We'll have an opportunity because we're not looking to fill so many holes to have some of those shots in the draft. Even though we don't pick till the second round, there's going to be somebody out there. We're going to be like, oh my gosh, we can't believe this guy's still there, and we could draft them.
Absolutely. And this is what I think it comes down to. They draft 49, so I'm just going to round it off and say that the top 50 guys in the draft. You know, is there really any position of any player that's in the top 50 of the draft that the Steelers wouldn't say, hey, if this person's there, we should take him? I mean, as much as I'm like,
Right.
I don't think the Steelers' future quarterback is going to be someone that they can necessarily grab at 49. I know some people talk about, Jalen Hurts. Could they even get him in the third round? And I'm just like, I'm not sold on that being the answer. I'm not absolutely against it either. So, but I mean, if there's a player that the Steelers have in their top 50, is there really, I mean, obviously there's no punter in the top 50. There's no long snapper in the top 50.
Right.
Is there any position you could think of a top 50 player that the Steelers wouldn't consider drafting? And when that's the case, I think they're better off that way. Is there anyone you can think of? I can't think of one.
No, I really can't.
I mean, as much as I don't think the Steelers need to draft a quarterback right now, I mean, if it would have to be someone that they feel is better than Mason Rudolph, or would be wasting their time. But honestly, if they have him in their top 50, they should feel that he's better than Mason Rudolph, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So to me, quarterback would be the least likely of any of them. But I mean, if it's an offensive lineman, there's tons of tackles in this draft. The top, I know some people in the live chat were saying, oh, it would be good to get a guard in that top pick. I don't know that I said it on the preview Thursday that the guard / center out of Wisconsin, that I can't say his name, Tyler, it starts with a B, is the top rated interior offensive lineman. And CBS, the last time I checked, had him at 49, which is where the Steelers pick. So it's not like there's going to be a really big guard that falls to them, because they're probably not going to have one graded that high. But it could be a tackle.
Yeah.
It could be an edge rusher. That's two positions that Kevin Colbert's already said. We know this draft is deep in these positions. And we also have, wide receivers very deep in this draft. And I know sometimes you're like, just because it's deep doesn't mean the Steelers need to go after it. But when it's deep, sometimes what that means is there's better quality still around, because so many teams have addressed it then, because they've taken so many of them.
Right.
If you know what I mean. Does that make sense?
Yes. When they make a run on edge rushers, that leaves maybe the top, inside linebacker still sitting there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That leaves somebody else sitting out there you weren't expecting to be there.
Or do teams start saying, oh, there's so many good edge rushers left, we're not going to take one now because we kind of have our pick. Maybe we'll have better options for later, or could make a move for one. And then all of a sudden somebody falls that you don't expect. So those are all really good points that I think the Steelers are kind of in that boat right now. I want to bring up the super chat question we got from George Teston. And he put $2 into the tip jar. Thank you very much, George. He says, who's going to take over as gunner for Holton? So I think we already know who one gunner is, because he stepped into it really well last year. And that was Justin Lane. He really stepped up as the reserve.
I was trying to think, who in the world are you talking about? Then you said, it's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, because remember, so much so that Artie Burns didn't get a helmet when he came back from his injury.
I know.
Because Lane was doing such a good job on special teams. So before we get into the question more, for those of you that didn't realize what George did there, he used the super chat feature, which is where you can type in your comment, you hit the $, you donate any amount you want to the show, and it will highlight your comment, and we will definitely address it. Now, we'll get to some questions here after a bit, but I'm not focusing completely on the live chat right now. So I'll let you know when that time comes. So any thoughts on who you think could be a gunner? I don't have the answer to that question.
He may not be on our roster yet.
Well, and not only that, it might be someone that we didn't even know could do the job, but the Steelers did, and that's why they parted ways with Holton. Here's the other thing. Who's to say Johnny Holton's gone for sure? I mean, they did it as a cap thing. Who's to say he's not someone that they decide they wanted to bolster the roster with, even after the draft? So it's still a possibility.
Yeah,
think about it. Last year, the Steelers signed him. They cut him, and then they brought him back the night before the first game.
Right. He could be somebody we signed right before camp, potentially. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, so I don't know who the answer could be. It could be I don't know if Deion King can do it. Hey, how about another guy like Kareth White? Is he a guy that could actually tackle? I don't know.
I know
they like Benny Snell on teams, but I mean, maybe they think that I don't know if Gilbert's fast enough to go out there and be that gunner. Maybe they feel that Marcus Allen is someone who's fast enough that could do that and could get the job done. I don't know. There's some possibilities, and I don't know if the Steelers really have the answer to that player right now. He might. I think what you said could be very true. Is that it could be somebody who's not even on the roster yet. So those are some of the holes, maybe some of the upgrade positions that the Steelers could be looking at. I'm going to ask you one last question, and I'm going to ask this question in the live chat. I'm going to throw out this question. I'm going to see what you all say, and I'm going to open it up for questions then from you guys. Right now, gut feeling, just having to take a shot, because there's no specific hole that they need. With the 49th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select name. The next word is going to be position. What words are they going to be saying when they announce that? What position out of anything do you just kind of have a feeling that the Steelers might end up taking with their first pick?
Well, it's the Steelers. So I don't think I could ever go wrong by saying linebacker.
Linebacker. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I mean, now here's the question: inside or outside? Either way.
Depends on who's there.
Okay.
But it really wouldn't surprise me because we're known for grabbing up linebackers, right? How about You've got some outside guys that we like. We got some inside guys that we like, and I'm sure they've got them ranked out. It's just who's the best one available when we hit 49.
Kathy wants to know if this is a contest. All I know is that if you put yours in the live chat, grab a screenshot. Seriously, if you do this right now, I'm not going to do it for you all because there's too many of you. Grab your own screenshot, and then that way, if you called it right, you can tell us the Tuesday after the draft, right? So to me personally, I think I would say I would not be shocked one bit if they went with an edge rusher, just because I think there might be some really good ones left that normally would go higher that might be there. I also feel that, but I also think that that's going to come down to how they think everything's going with Bud Dupree. I got roasted when I said the Steelers need to sign Bud Dupree to a long-term deal. No. This is a show me year. Now, last year was a show me year.
Yep.
But when talking with Ian last week, I would even say 4.
I would be willing to go up to 4, but 3 years would be.
But it's the per year, and that's the thing that when Ian Whetstone was on with Jeff and Lance last Wednesday, and I sat in to talk geeky numbers, and Jeff Hartman fell asleep 6 times. He said that he thinks that Dupree, the price tag would be more than the salary cap. I'm like, I think he's crazy if he thinks that. I think Dupree was
more than the franchise tag. He thinks he's more than the franchise.
Like more than 16 a year.
No,
I'm like, if he has that expectations, not only should they not sign him, I'd rescind. I would flat up rescind the tag. I mean, to just say, dude, you're crazy. We're crazy. We're crazy for paying you $60 million for 1 year. We really are. And you want $60 million per year for 4 years? No, you're crazy. Okay. Some people say they'd like 12. Some say they'd like 14. To me, I don't know. But if things aren't going well, if you know what I mean, if things aren't going well with that, and they're thinking, well, maybe we're not going to be able to sign them long term. Having another edge rusher that works in is kind of like your next guy off the bench, your top pick overall, that's going to enter the rotation and then could possibly step in if Dupree's not here after next year. I think that would be, in my opinion, could be a smart draft pick. Doesn't mean they have to go that way. It does not.
No.
But if they took an edge rusher, I'd be like, that's a smart move. So that's just me. I'm seeing lots of running back. Everyone wants them to take Dobbins. I don't think he's going to be there. And a lot of you guys know running back, how it's, I mean, look at what happened. I mean, people are saying things about Saquon Barkley needs to get to his next contract fast. Look at what happened to Gurley. You know, those are Le'Veon Bell and Todd Gurley are actually killing the running back market because they're showing teams you don't overpay for them. But if you're not going to overpay for them, that means you need to draft them. So I could see it both ways. I don't know that this, the Steelers, if they draft a running back, then they're going to have to get rid of one of the guys they already have. So that's, to me, that's definitely not filling a hole. That's just upgrading. And if they did it, I wouldn't complain, but I don't feel that that's what they have to do because there's some people adamant out there. It has to be a running back. It has to be a running back. I don't think it has to be. Only if the right guy falls to him. So what's your thoughts on running back,
when you get that surprise, like Juju or Ben Roethlisberger,
Yeah.
if you get that kind of surprise, then why wouldn't you? But we don't have to.
Yep. Joshua Shields brings up a good point. He said probably inside linebacker or safety. That's another one that he didn't think about. That the Steelers still say they really like Terrell Edmonds. They could use some depth there, but if they draft a safety as their first pick in the draft, that's really going to put some pressure there. That would be interesting. I think they'll take a safety at some point in the draft. I just don't know if it'll be their first pick, but it very well could be. So some of these are pretty interesting.
Best available on our board. That's going to be my whole thing. I kind of can't wait for this draft. I don't watch the draft every year. I have certain years. I'll probably watch the draft this year because I'm really excited to see who we take because I think we can just go get the guy we have ranked the highest.
Yep. Michael O'Malley really liked your answer. He says, You've got it. He's like best linebacker available inside or out.
Inside or out.
I can definitely get on board with that. And then Thaddeus asked a great question. If the Steelers draft a running back, who doesn't make the roster? And that's my question too. And because the other thing you don't want to do is you don't want to draft a running back in the second round, have them not be quite ready yet to where they're taking a roster spot of someone who technically would be better than them. You don't want to not have your first overall pick make the team. I mean, they're going to have him make the team, but if they're not actually any better at the moment than a Kareth White, which we still don't know exactly what we have from him other than some speed, or Jalen Samuels, I mean, they're not going to push Snell or Connor off the roster. So that's a really good question to ask, and that's the question as to why I'm not one of those people that are like they really need to grab a running back. I would be completely content if they do not draft a running back at all in this draft. People probably think I'm crazy, but I'd be okay if they didn't. And I think they'll draft a wide receiver, but I don't know that it's going to be with one of their top picks. But we'll see about that too.
Good. Who falls down there? If there's a guy you just can't pass on at 49, then take him.
And get him. Yep.
I'm thinking we're going to get a linebacker in that pick. But if we end up with a receiver because it was a guy that fell that we just can't pass on, I'm okay with that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Bottom line is there should not be any question about, well, did the Steelers reach? There's no reason for them to reach on their first pick.
Exactly.
Because there's really no reason to. Some people are like, well, did they take a tight end? I don't know that there's a tight end ranked in the top 50. So I don't know that they, especially after signing Ebron, I don't know that you wouldn't necessarily need to take a tight end at 50 when none of them are off the board. I mean, I still think I wouldn't be shocked. I've said it myself. I would not be shocked if Zach Gentry does not make the 53-man roster this year. It really depends on his development. We're going to have to see an awful lot of him because we really don't know what we have. So that's interesting. Just looking at some interesting, we're getting some names, different positions. These are some pretty good stuff. Excellent says the first running back is a hole on the offense. I don't think so. Because first of all, you're not going to draft someone at 49 that's going to instantly be your first running back. chances are. Doesn't mean that they couldn't become that, but that's not going to be your expectation. People still forget. People were so down on Connor after, yes, he had some injuries. He had a Pro Bowl year in 2018. You lose your quarterback. You've got no threat of a passing game. You got teams stacking the box. And then all of a sudden, everyone thinks that James Conner is made of glass and can't do anything. I still say the Steelers need to find out more than anything what they got with him to know if he's going to be with the team long, beyond this year. So that's why I say Connor's going to be your RB1 no matter what. And I don't think anything, I don't care who you bring in. I don't know that they would. I mean, you could even go out and try to sign a decent free agent out there, and they're still not going to be your RB1 over top of Connor. That's just my opinion. I think the Steelers really want to know what they have. And they're only going to know it if, one, he's healthy, and if two, if he's playing in an offense that is actually a full offense and not everybody just focusing on you and everything you do. Because you do have to admit, I mean, I think we saw this when James Conner against Buffalo. I mean, he was 100% everything that their defense was keying on. They almost didn't even care about anything else. Connor came back from injury, and they didn't want Connor. They wanted to make sure that Connor was the one person that didn't kill him. And I mean, some people are like, "Oh, he had a down year," but if he's the main focal point, both him and Juju. I mean, beyond the two of them, who was scaring the Steelers? That's opponent. Who were the Steelers? I can't even spit it out.
Why?
The Steelers' opponents last year. Was there anyone really scaring them offensively other than those two? So teams focused on them. So, which meant were they maybe not as good as what we hoped they would have been? Yeah, but that still doesn't mean that they're terrible and they need replaced. That's what we're going to see. So I haven't caught up in the live chat. I'm sure I'm getting roasted for saying those kind of things about running back, but I'm not ready. I'm not trying to be emotional I love James Conner. I love the story. I love that he's in Pittsburgh. I want him to stay. It has nothing to do with that. I'm just not ready to say that he can't be the guy. I'm ready for him to show that he can be the guy. I'm also not sold that he definitely is the guy. I like what Wes said.
You'll be happy to know that and look at the live chat. Michael O'Malley's kind of been agreeing with you. He thinks we have a stable of running backs, and we were facing 8, 9, sometimes as many as 10 guys in the box.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a good one you brought up there.
Yeah. Yeah. Wes says, I don't care what we draft. I'm excited for this season. Yep. I got to try to go back because my live chat skipped a little bit. So I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. There. Yeah. There I was caught up. So, yeah, I mean, this is talking about what the Steelers need to fill. Do you see any more free agent signings by the Steelers? Rich?
Again, Colbert's going to keep doing what he's been doing. If he gets a position where he feels he can add a little depth or somewhere and do it for pretty much on the cheap, he might not be done. Could we be done? We could be done.
Yeah.
I don't think he has to go out and look to get anything else. But if he can get the right kind of thing going, he doesn't have to be done.
I would not be shocked to see another free agent signing after the draft. Meaning, if they don't do any more between now and the draft, don't be shocked that the Steelers kind of see how the draft plays out. And they're like, oh, we really could use another receiver. We'll sign one off the street. Or we really could use another safety. Let's see if there's anyone out there. Wouldn't be flashy, wouldn't count towards the compensatory formula, but just one of those things. Thaddeus wants to know, what are the chances Rudolph isn't the number 2 behind Ben next year, and who on the roster can beat him? My opinion is the only reason Rudolph won't be the number 2 next year is if they end up using a higher draft pick on a quarterback. I don't know that anyone is really going to, even if they play better than Rudolph in the Steelers' eyes, I still don't think they're going to supplant anybody ahead of him. Even if it looks like they're doing better than him in the preseason. What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much with you.
Yeah.
Could there be a surprise? There could be, but I'm not expecting it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I jumped again. So it's just one of those things. Nightwolf said, I agree, Dave. Last year was just awkward and ugly. That's a really good way to put it. It just kind of was. And that's where Michael O'Malley said 8 or 9 in the box most of the year. Yep. Here's an interesting thing where McDave, I can't even say it right. We'll just say McDave. Need a full season from Connor. You know what? It would be great. I don't look for it to happen.
No.
I mean, I keep throwing that number out there out of 32 teams in the NFL. Only 12 of the 32 did the team's leading rusher play in every game because of injury. The only one that was questionable was, like I said, for Baltimore. Why can't I even remember his name right now? My goodness, because I would like to forget that team as much as I can. Mark Ingram.
Who? What team?
Yeah. Because he didn't play the last week of the season but he was injured where he wouldn't have anyway. So that's just what happens. Your running backs wear down. It's hard for them to play 16 games. Tight end's another one that's a lot like that as well. That's why it helps to have more than one. So, So still have people saying, "Oh, our running backs are made of glass." You know what? You say they're made of glass, but then that means that means 80% of the league has running backs made of glass, because it's just what happens when you're constantly taking those hits from NFL defensive players. It's just what it is. Like Wes said, the issue at running back isn't talent, it's health. Jonathan Taylor had NFL level carries, and he's going to have a short career. Okay. That's true. Running backs aren't going to last a long time either. That's why it's not such a bad idea to constantly replenish. But the Steelers took a running back in the 4th round last year. They took one in the 5th round the year before. They had James Conner the year before. I mean, they've drafted a running back every year. There could be a year eventually that they say, we don't have to this year, or they're just going to keep drafting them because they know they've got to keep replenishing. But I wouldn't. The problem is when it's your top draft pick, it's someone you have a tendency more to fall in love with. And unfortunately, when you fall in love with your running backs in the NFL, sometimes it comes back to bite you, much like what happened with Todd Gurley in Los Angeles. Do you agree with that? Or
yeah, I do. It's the reality.
X is still betting.
Reality of today's NFL.
Mm-hmm. X is saying $20 they draft running back. I'm like, if you're saying just draft one, period, I would say yeah. That's a good bet for you. If you're saying that they drafted as their top one, like I said, I'm still not sold on it. But we will have it's funny because as much as I'm kind of bummed about the Steelers not having a 1st round draft pick, you're like, oh, the first night of the draft is going to be kind of blah.
Mm-mm.
Well, guess what?
I'm waiting to watch.
Who's falling. I'm going to be more intent watching that than in years past to see, all right, who's still out there? Who's still, or not even who, what positions are getting or getting grabbed up to then see how things are going to play for the Steelers. I think I'm going to be able to watch it overall and not be nervous about it. Like last year, I didn't get to watch it until later on because I was at the Avengers premiere and heard the Devin Bush pick on my phone.
I was like, when they were like, the Broncos traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers, I was like, what?
Yeah. I know we all have our stories with that. So I think Night Wolf brings up a good point. He says we have good running backs. Yeah, we do. But I think the problem is people want great running backs. And if the Steelers feel that they could get a great running back at 49, then do what you got to do. But I've heard so many people, we've got to go running back. When you feel like you've got to go a certain position, you're going to have problems. So the answer to this is easy, Michael. Do you see the box with Ben at the helm? Unless his elbow is worse than what it was when he got hurt last year.
Yeah,
I don't see that at all.
And adding to that, with Ben at the helm and adding Ebron as a tight end, no.
Yeah, no. I mean, you're gonna. It brings back something else. LaShawn McCoy. I can't remember who quoted this, where I heard this, but LaShawn McCoy was quoted saying, running for Kansas City this past year, I've never seen running lanes like this before. Was it the Kansas City's offensive line was that great? Nope. What was it? It was a dynamic quarterback and great receivers
Yep.
that draw the attention of the defense. And all of a sudden, look at all the openings to run.
Yep.
Look at all the openings to run. So
You want to stack 8 in the box? We've got guys that Ben can get the ball to.
Ben Roethlisberger will make you pay.
I'm telling you that actually that's one of the things I got most excited about the Ebron signing was that it's going to knock down that 8 in the box, because if they go 8 in the box, Ben's just going to move plays and hit Ebron in the seam or whatever, and we're going to get big chunks of yards.
Yeah. Yep. Or send James Washington deep, or
exactly,
or send Deontay Johnson across the middle. I mean, you're going to have some options there. You're going to have some options. One thing that this is something that people might not be talking much about, is I really hope that a repertoire can be built between Ben Roethlisberger and James Washington, because I felt that's what was missing his rookie year. James Washington had a great preseason last year, but Ben Roethlisberger didn't play in that preseason, and James Washington wasn't on the field when Ben Roethlisberger did play. And then you didn't see much from Washington when Roethlisberger was there, but then you saw more from him. I really like to see the two of them. Man, Thaddeus is just firing off question after question. Do you see the Steelers bringing in someone cheap from the XFL? It's a possibility. He brought in AAF guys last year. It was as of Monday, XFL players could sign. The only signing I saw for sure was the PJ Walker, the quarterback, went to Carolina. I didn't see any others. It doesn't mean that they weren't there. Who was the receiver in Houston that was just constantly tearing up? Was it like Cam Phillips? Was that the name?
I don't remember the name, but I know which guy you're talking about.
Cam Phillips might be the name. If that's the case, man, somebody should grab him. I mean, just to take the chance, because he had crazy not interceptions, crazy receptions. So, which is pretty cool. Let's just see what I jumped again. So I'm going to try to back up and zip through some more of these before we call it a show. I'm not going into some of this stuff. There was the XFL question. So yeah, the Steelers don't have a ton of cap space right now, but they could free up a little bit if they wanted. DeCastro and Tuitt are the only guys left that they could really restructure. I'm looking to do an article. You know what's crazy? The Steelers only have 3 players under contract for 2022. Everybody is in 2020 or 2021. They only have 3. Well, let me rephrase that. 3 players not on rookie contracts that are under contract for more than 2 years. And that's Stephon Tuitt, Chris Boswell, and now Derek Watt. That's all. So if this was the year of the restructure, the rest of this offseason and a little bit, and really next year, could really be the year of extensions. Any player that you want to keep, you're going to want to try to get an extension going. And it might even save you some money off some big cap hits from where they're restructured. So, Kev says Kathy's got jokes. I wanted to see if she said something that funny. I saw what she saw, and I don't even want to talk about that subject right now of a certain quarterback that many have been saying is going to could be a possibility of the Steelers. I don't see him trying to, with what the Steelers would pay for a backup quarterback. I don't see him taking that money, although it drops every day, I'm sure. Job Man's getting upset that I'm not saying that he really wants. I didn't know if it was him or not, mentioned Ted Ginn Jr., someone who's still out. Is he still out there? He hasn't caught enough on my radar to see. I could see the Steelers bringing in that type of a receiver, someone who's been around for a while that just, that might not command a huge salary. Could be true. So, as I kind of get caught up here, I think this sums up how we feel about a lot of the draft from Night Wolf. RB is not an immediate need unless it's a best player available pick.
Yep.
Can you agree with that, Rich?
I do. That's what I kept saying
as well.
I
Absolutely.
Don't think we need a running back. We would be okay if we didn't have one. But if we get to a spot where that's the best player available, then pick them.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Shaquille says we need we need a speed back. You know what? We got a speed back with Garrett White that showed some promise last year. But if we draft a running back, chances are we'll never see him because he'll probably end up getting pushed out. Kathy, agreed. We got to keep Ben upright. So I still think the Steelers, they've got to draft at least one, if not more than one offensive lineman. Because even when they addressed the position free agent wise, they didn't do it young. They did it cheap.
Right.
You know, you got the hometown discount of Wisniewski coming home. Gave him a fantastic contract. People still can't get over that. I'm going to have an article about that. Pro Football Focus was going on about that as being the Steelers' best pickup this offseason, just because of how cheap they got him. But they didn't get younger, that's for sure. So that is something they need to consider about starting to restock the offensive line for down the road. So
which is the other reason that position wouldn't surprise me at 49 either.
Yeah, it really wouldn't if that's the best player available.
Yep.
So that's all I'm saying. Please, 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 Steelers, take the best player available. So a lot of people really, really strong opinions on all their stuff. X brought up something and then it skipped. I was just going to click on it. Here we go. If this is the player I think he is, Gibson. I'm pretty sure that's the wide receiver / tight end from Notre Dame. He's great at both. Oh, no, that's somebody else. He's saying as a running back and a wide receiver. I'm thinking, I can't remember the name. Is it Clayton or whatever from Notre Dame, who's someone who's a wide receiver / tight end, could really be used as both. But then again, that's also what Ebron is right now. There's so many names out there, and this year's going to be strange because what's going to be strange about this year is normally we have a better idea what the Steelers are doing based on the pro days they visit and the visitors that they have come in. And we don't have
that's not happening.
I mean, they're going to have like the teleconference calls.
Right.
I don't even know that we're going to get a report on what those are, of players for the draft. I don't know. I mean, there's a chance they could report who they were, but I don't know if they will. I mean, when you're bringing a player in and they're flying in and getting to the facility, people are going to find out about it. If you're just doing a conference call, you can keep that secret.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see in coming weeks of how things could be. I was going to bring it up, but I don't want to bring up the last part of the comment. Bottom line is Jesse wants to know if Switzer, McCullers, and Trey Edmonds all make the roster. I'm saying all of them.
No.
What do you think, Rich?
I don't think. No, I don't think so. I don't think all three of them are on the roster.
There's a chance at two of them.
Yep.
But really, I wouldn't be surprised if it's just one. Wouldn't be surprised at all. And I don't even know which one it would be right now for sure, because I think the draft is going to depend. Those are all fringe guys. I don't know that they're going to replace enough to knock out all three of them. See, right now, even without drafting running back, I think Trey Edmonds might be done because they kept an extra running back last year because they didn't have it filling up with a fullback.
Right.
Well, I mean, because look, they had Connor, Snell, Samuels, White, and Edmonds.
Right.
They had five.
Edmonds kind of was our fullback.
Yeah, because he kind of worked as that fullback.
Right.
So honestly, even if they don't draft running back, I don't see Edmonds sticking on the team unless he beats out one of those other guys. North Top, real quick, wanted to know, do we still target a TE in the draft? I say no, we don't target, but if it's a best player available in later rounds, I still like the tight end out of Dayton. If he's there in round 3, I would take him. But that's just me. That's Troutman. But it's not. But honestly, if there's a better, I wouldn't say just take him if he's at 3. If there's somebody that's even better that you didn't expect to be there in their 3rd round pick, I'd be okay going with someone better at a different position, just because I don't know that they have to address it. So here we go. Anything else to finish up, Rich? I think we're going to have to probably call it a night here, just because we've had some great stuff in the live chat, everybody. Thanks for chiming in. Steelers freak. I'm not even going to bring that one up. I don't want to even think about that. That's about having a season and stuff this year.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
I think so.
I think you do.
So
better. I want my tickets.
Yeah. Yeah,
We need the schedule come out
we want to be able.
so we can figure out which game we're going to.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm assuming the NFL season's going to kick off without any problems. I'm going to keep going with that until we hear otherwise.
That's right.
I can tell for those of you that are wondering how things work, if you're not a season ticket holder, they have pushed back the deadline for season ticket holders to renew their tickets, not necessarily because they're any fear of the season. That is strictly with wanting to make sure people aren't having to be too strapped financially if people are not able to work or with various other things with the current situation going on with our country. So that was a very positive thing that the Steelers did. So been a lot of fun tonight. Had a great time with Kevin in the last show. Had a great time here being involved with the live chat. It's just fun stuff to talk about. Great to take our mind off of other things. Focus on the Steelers right now. Make sure you're checking into the website. It's a great place to go and be. Lots of great conversations on comments, plenty of articles to read. BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. It is your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. Make sure you're tuning in to the podcast, especially for those jumping in live. I got a message from Lance Williams in between shows that he didn't get the notification. I don't always get the notifications on YouTube. I didn't get a notification for Lance's last show until the next day. I think YouTube might be getting bogged down with a lot of people using it and everything more. So if you have an idea of when we're going live, there's people in the live chats before the notification even goes out. People know when to look for it if they really want to jump in. We're sorry about that. There's nothing we can really do about that, but we understand. But we got shows coming. You should get Jeff and Lance around 9:00 tomorrow night. You'll get the Steelers preview on Thursday around whenever Jeff's kids go to bed. He tells us what time we're going. Anytime between 8:45 and 9:15. You've got Lance's. Yeah, I said it, usually on a little bit later on Fridays. Burning questions become more of an afternoon show on Saturdays, but it's really up to whoever has the question that week. Homer and the Haters become a little bit more of an afternoon show over the weekend on Sundays with Jeff and Lance. And Brian and Tony generally go around 5:00 on Mondays. So we don't stick to a set schedule, but we have a general idea of when things go. If nothing else, make sure you're going in, hitting the like button, giving the good ratings on the podcast. We really appreciate everything you all do. It's really nice coming in and seeing you guys here on these shows. It's people that we know. We are interacting with people. I mean, we feel like we know you. We're looking forward to what you guys say, and we really appreciate it. And when people are missing, believe it or not, we talk about it after the show. Like, oh man, we really missed so-and-so this week. So we really do. You guys really are a part of this family, and we really appreciate it. So thanks for joining in. Tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe. Anything else you got to say, Rich?
Nope. Have a good night, Steeler Nation.
All right. Thanks for geeking out with us.